Let's talk about tuning. We have our violins, violas, cellos, and basses that may need to get tuned up over the couple of days that you have had your instrument in your case, or whether there's been a funky change in the weather. The strings on your instrument definitely need to be tuned so that it doesn't sound like a banjo.
Take me home, country road, pick it in there.
So let's walk you through a couple of skills that you'll need in order to be able to tune your instrument, and we'll also hook you up with a couple of apps and websites that'll make that process easier. Let's jump right in. Before we actually jump into the tutorial, it's important to note that you can have some catastrophic things happen to your instrument if you're not careful in the tuning process. You can make your string so tight that it'll break and pop and be unusable, or you can make it so loose that it'll come off and your bridge will come apart and off your instrument. So to avoid those things, it's important to have a parent or guardian with you as you're trying to make these adjustments, and when you make the adjustments, make them as small as possible and do it in small steps and increments as you make these adjustments. That will ensure that you are having a successful tuning session before you actually go and play. Tuning helps us adjust how tight or how loose our strings are pulled across our instrument, and that equates to things sounding higher or lower. So if one string is out of tune, the whole instrument might sound out of whack, and that's why all 4 strings have to be tuned to certain pitches, or what we call notes. So when we're tuning, we're going to talk about either making something higher in pitch or lower in pitch. Sometimes if it's higher, we'll say that the note is sharp, and if the note is lower, we might refer to it as being flat, kind of like a flat tire. And essentially what we're doing with each string is we're either going to have to make it tighter or looser, higher or lower. So first let's identify what higher sounds versus lower sounds sound like. So stick with me here. Can you hear the difference between this note and this note? Can you hear the difference between this note and this note? We're going to work on first seeing if your strings are in tune by using a tuning app. I'll link a couple of my favorite tuners down below for you to check out. When it comes to tuning string instruments, I want everyone to start by tuning their A string and getting that A string really set. A couple of things to keep in mind. Your strings can only be pulled so tight, so if it feels like things are getting difficult to tighten, stop right away. You might be going too far. So you need to make very small adjustments when you're first starting out. We're going to talk about the difference between making fine tuner adjustments and tuning peg adjustments. Let's find our A string on our instrument and double check it with a tuner. Alright, here I am. I have my violin and my tuner set up and ready to tune, and in this demonstration, so I could get both things on screen, I have my violin laying safely down on a table. I suggest holding your violin or your string instrument with both hands while you do this. The first step is to get a reading of what your note sounds like currently. So I'm going to start on my violin's A string, which is the second string in. If you're a viola player, your A string would be here, but on a violin it's our second string in. So let's see what our A string sounds like. And you'll notice here that I'm actually to the left of A, which means I'm lower than the actual A sound that I need. So let's test it one more time. And now that I'm confident that I know where I need to go with my pitch, I need to bring it up to the right. You can also think of righty-tighty, something being higher, and lefty-loosey, something being lower, when we go and make those adjustments to the fine tuners or the tuning pegs. I'm going to find my fine tuner, this little silver dial, and turn it to the right. I'm going to do a half a turn, and then another half a turn, and check to see the progress that I made. I'm pretty under pitch right here, so I know that I can give this a couple of turns and still be in the safety zone here without any issue. So you'll notice that I'm getting closer to A. I still need to go tighter. I'll give it a couple more turns. Maybe 2 more. 3 for good luck. And I'm just now gone too far, so I'll loosen it a little bit. and I'm landing pretty darn close to A in the center of the pitch, and I'm happy with that. I would repeat the process for our D string, pretty close there, G string, pretty close there, and then I like doing it in that order, and I go finish out with E. That's just my habit. A little under pitch on the E, tighten it up. And there we go, my violin is perfectly in tune. All right, let's talk about what happens if your note is really out of whack and you're really off and far away from the letter that you need your note to be at. So let's take a listen to what's supposed to be my A string here, and you'll notice that the tuner is gonna listen to that and hear something closer to a G, which in music land is really far away from the note that we need this to be. So let's listen to it. Yeah, we're almost down into F sharp territory, and we need to again bring that pitch up. Instead of making an adjustment, since we're so far away on the fine tuners, now we have to go to the tuning pegs. And just like we went and found the A string fine tuner, I'm gonna follow the A string all the way up, and your A string peg is here, and we're going to go tighter on this, which is turning the peg away from you to pull the string tighter. And this one again is small adjustments, but I like to do this while I'm actually plucking so that I get to hear and see the note change on my screen. So I'm plucking now with my left hand thumb, and I'm going to adjust with my right hand, bringing the pitch up ever so slightly, turning, and I'm also pushing in towards the peg box to keep pressure on there. And I want to get relatively close to A. Remember that we can make smaller adjustments with the fine tuners down here once we're in the ballpark or the neighborhood of A. You would repeat this process for each string. Just be super careful that you don't over tighten or loosen the string, in which case the string will get loose and the bridge can come off. I'm going to go through and list the string names for each instrument from highest to lowest. That way you know exactly what sounds each string should make. On violins, from thinnest string to fattest string, we have E, A, D, and G. If this was a viola, it would be A on the outside, D, G, and C being our lowest string. Same thing on the cello, from high to low, A, D, G, then C being our lowest string on the cello. On a bass, we have G, D, A, and E being our lowest string. This is a cello though, so we're just going to pretend like it's a bass. Now that we've talked about how you can actually try to tune your instrument, there's a couple of other things to keep in mind. At the beginning stages, we definitely tune just by doing a pluck or playing pizzicato to test our strings. As you get more advanced, sometimes you get a better result by holding your instrument up in playing position and playing with the bow. It's just something to keep in mind for any more advanced student that might be watching. Also, You can run out of room on the fine tuners. If you only adjust by fine tuners, you're going to adjust that screw too far in, and then that won't allow you to go any farther. Or vice versa, you might make it so loose that it actually comes out. So if anything starts to get too loose or too tight, stop right there and see if you can make an adjustment either at the tuning peg or vice versa at this fine tuner to help things stay somewhat consistently even between the balance of the peg tuning and fine tuner adjustments. The other thing that you'll want to keep in mind is that this is definitely something that you need a lot of practice at, and the first couple times that you try it, it will be really frustrating to try to really dial in the right amount of notes, which is why as teachers we always help you tune at those very beginning stages. So this is something that you'll work at. It's something that you will practice just like you practice playing songs. If you have any issues, please feel free to reach out to me. I can walk you through it and we'll help you get your instrument sounding great for your at-home practice. So good luck, and let me know how your tuning of your instruments go.